how good is Tamiyo Inquisitive Student in Timeless, actually? That's what we're going to find out today. So here is our Tamiyo Blue Moon deck for Timeless, and I am really excited to show this deck off, not just because we get to Blood Moon people, but because this deck really shows what Tamiyo Inquisitive Student can do. So Tamiyo's been kind of controversial. Some people think it sucks, some people think it's great. I tend to think this card is ridiculous in formats with Brainstorm. So the front side, 1 mana 0/3 with flying. When it attacks, you get a clue token. The important thing is, when you draw your third card from the turn, you flip to the backside Tamiyo Seasoned Scholar, which has 2 loyalty. It +2s to make it so until your next turn, whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control gets -1, -0 until end of turn. -3, you can get an instant or sorcery card back from your graveyard to your hand. -7, draw cards equal to half the number of cards in your library, rounded up, and you have no max hand size for the rest of the game. So what we typically do with Tamiyo is we try to flip it on turn 2, ideally. The combo is Tamiyo Brainstorm. So ideally on turn 2, we Tamiyo Brainstorm, flip it, and then what do we do with the backside? Well, we plus it, we plus it, then we draw half of our deck on turn 5, and just win the game. Once we draw half of our deck, it essentially becomes impossible for us to lose. We just have so many cards, so much defense, anything our opponent does, we can stop it, and eventually we'll kill them somehow. So that's normally what we do. We can also take down Tamiyo to get a spell back if we want to, which is relevant in some situations. So Brainstorm and R1 Brain Surge are our most direct ways of just straight up flipping Tamiyo. What else is our deck doing? Well, we're trying to slow our opponent down with not just Blood Moon, but our new Magus of the Moon, our blue Magus of the Moon, in Harbinger of the Seas. So now we have 6 different ways to essentially just ruin our opponent's non-basic lands, and we have a mana base that's built to support these cards, so it's not really going to hurt our game plan. Spreading Seas can snipe a random basic if our opponent has one that snips through. As far as our interaction, Lightning Bolt, Unholy Heat to deal with our opponent's stuff, Mana Drain because it is incredibly busted, Archmage's Charm, another way that we can flip our Tamiyo. We can just draw 2 cards, plus if we do it during our turn, we drew for our draw steps, so 3 cards, flip it Tamiyo, plus it can counter something or steal aggro creatures. Flare Denial, just a one of, but potentially a free counter, and then Invert Polarity, a card that I really want to try. I'm not sure how good this card is. This is our new, maybe a counter spell, maybe we get to steal your spell counter spell. For 3 mana, we get to target a spell that's on the stack, and then we flip a coin. If we lose, we just counter the spell, which is fine. We got an expensive counter spell essentially. If we win, we just gain control of the spell, so our opponent's big finish or whatever suddenly becomes ours. So it'll be interesting to see just how good Invert Polarity really is. As far as actually killing our opponent, our main plan is Brazen Borrower Beatdowns or Snapcaster with Lightning Bolts just to finish off the game, but really the way we win the game is usually flipping Tamiyo, drawing half of our deck, and making it so we can never lose the game. We just lock our opponent with the Blood Moon, we have all the counters, all the interaction, and then eventually we slip through a Brazen Borrower and attack a few times and our opponent dies. As far as the mana base, basically designed to support Blood Moons. So a bunch of blue fetches, they can get a bunch of islands, also some mountains in case we have Harbinger of the Seas, we might need basic mountains to play our red spells, and then a few dual lands, 1 Mystic Sanctuary, and that is Tamiyo Blue Moon for Timeless. That's our deck for today, so let's jump into some games and see just how absolutely absurd Tamiyo can be, with Blood Moon, of course, as support. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap-up. Need some magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. We've got new tokens and playmats, and you can even get the tokens signed if you want. Check them all out over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. All right, it is Modern Horizons 3 time. We are playing some Tamiyo Blue Moon, and we'll keep this. I mean, with 2 brainstorms, anything's a keep. I wish we had a Tamiyo, but maybe we can brainstorm into a Tamiyo opponent. Holy Garden. Well, Island go. Oh, God. Yogg? It might be Yogg. Oh, it's a Grazer deck. Okay. Abrew Grazer. Grazer into land, into flare, into land is so much mana. Sunken Citadel. Wow, they have it. And Flare Cultivation. We're going to have to hope that they don't have a Cavern of Souls. If they can Cavern into Primeval Titan, we are in a very bad spot. If they can't Cavern, it's kind of okay, right? If they can't Cavern, then at least we can Mana Drain. We have a lot of Blood Moons. Blood Moon would shut down a lot of these shenanigans if we can find it quick enough. We have the Harbingers and we have real Blood Moons. Titan of Industry. All right. Well, Skull, Ding, Tarn, crack it. Grab a Steam Vents, untap. We're going to have so much mana that we have nothing to do with. All right. Well, mana drain it. Make 7 mana for no real purpose. Opponent sends a message with the plant. Brainstorm. I mean, I think we actually brainstorm here. We'd like to find a Blood Moon. Ooh, we could flip a Tamiyo, but I don't know if we want to flip a Tamiyo. We can flip a Tamiyo next turn, maybe? Spreading Seas. Archmage's Charm. Draw the charm first. Play Misty. Yeah, we gotta pass. As much as I would like to flip Tamiyo here, it's just too risky with our opponent having this amount of mana. Opponent. Bajukabog. Sure. Next turn, we can flip Taimyo and leave up a counter spell. Gets a couple forests. Still no cavern. Opponent going to send a plant message. Let's crack it. I don't think we need the Archmage's Charm with 2 mana drains. Still wouldn't mind finding a Blood Moon. Well, yeah, let's Thundering Falls. Taimyo. We already have 1. I don't think we need a second. All right, mill the Taimyo. Untap. Well, the time has come. Play the Taimyo. Brainstorm. Flip the Taimyo. Brazen Borrower and Lightning Bolt. Taimyo flips. Play the land, take up Taimyo. Taimyo, I think, might be actually insane. Like, this card might actually just be broken. Like, it might be the Ragavan of the set. Opponent land. At least in Brainstorm formats, it's so easy to flip. And the backside is more consequential than people think. Oh, poor opponent. Poor opponent. Flooded Strand. Crack it. Island. Mana drain. Number 2. Should have played a Cavern. Windswept Heath. The weird part about this deck is we have 2 different kinds of Blood Moons that give different land types, so it's not always clear what you want to tutor out. Opponent, passing. Well, make a bunch of mana, take up Taimyo, Brainstorm. There's a Blood Moon. We still have the mana drain. So put back land and land. Misty, oh, this might do it. Misty Rainforest, crack Misty Rainforest. Grab a island. Blood Moon. And pass the turn. I mean, we're just going to ultimate this Taimyo. Ultimating Taimyo does not actually seem that hard. Opponent. Abrew Grazer, sure, that is fine. Graze away, friend, graze away. So now we're also not really worried about Cavern. We're also not worried about Shifting Woodlands. Opponent dumps the lands into play and passes. Another mana drain. We'll take up Taimyo. I mean, we're 1 turn away from drawing half of our deck and having no max hand size. Like, that is the win. It might not be as immediately impactful. Natural Order. Mana drain? It might not be as immediately impactful as a Ragavan, but long term, the opponent, like, yeah, not technically dead on board. We had a ton of fun that match. Taimyo might actually be busted. And this is not like a did we break it. This is a did Wizards break it, because Taimyo seems absurd. I think the thing people, or maybe I at least, did not really consider strongly enough with Taimyo is how quickly you can rush the ultimate. Like, if you flip this on turn 2, your opponent probably isn't going to be able to attack it down very easily, and then you only have to defend it for 3 turns, right? Which, defending a Planeswalker for 3 turns on turn 7 or something, very difficult. Defending a Planeswalker for 3 turns on turn 2, not nearly as challenging. And then the ultimate, yes, you could get Bowmastered. You got to make sure you play around, a Bowmaster. But assuming that doesn't happen, drawing half your deck, it is going to win you the game, right? How do you not win if you do that? So, yeah, Taimyo busted. Busted. All right. It is Modern Horizons 3 time. We are playing some Taimyo Blue Moon in Timeless. And we're going to lead on Thundering Falls here. Do a little surveilling. Mana drain number 2. Yeah, I think that one's got to go graveyard. We already have 2 counters in hand. I don't know if we need counter number 3. Opponent Brainstorming. I think Brazen Borrower is kind of interesting in Timeless now. With these new Flipwalkers, I like that Brazen Borrower is an easy way to reset a Planeswalker after, or a Flipwalker after it flips. Oh god. Are we getting dredged? Yup. Well, okay. We are not going to win this game. We are getting janked out. Yeah, that's... I mean, not only is it dredge, but it's dredge getting back 5 power on turn 2 here on the play. The downside of best of 1 play. Yeah, I mean, now our entire deck does nothing. Yeah, I feel like best of 1 is very well suited for jank them out graveyard decks. Especially dredge. Like, we have a chance against Reanimator and stuff because we have counters, but dredge is just... I wonder what is the reason to play dredge now during early access? What did dredge get from MH3? I guess maybe Flare of Denial. I guess there's Cephalid Coliseum, although there's no literal dredge card, so I don't think Cephalid Coliseum is actually that good in like a historic dredge deck. It's like mediocre, I guess, but there's just 0 chance. I think you're not supposed to concede during early access, so I think we just let our opponent kill us. I mean, we'll mana drain. Like, what are we supposed to do? We bolt this, it comes back. We bolt that, it comes back. I guess we could bolt the Narcomoeba. Well, we get a little extra mana. We can do the Blood Moon thing, but is it even good? Like, our opponent can still cast all their stuff. So we can crack this from Mountain. Yeah, decks like this just take advantage of the fact that there's no... or minimal graveyard hate in Best of 1, and doubly minimum graveyard hate on early access day. Opponent, Otherworldly Gaze. So I guess Ripples is... I don't know. Is Ripples even good in this deck? Would I play Ripples and Dredge? I don't know that I would. It feels very slow. Like, next turn we get to mill 3 cards? That seems so incredibly slow for Dredge, but maybe it's better than I'm giving it credit for. We draw a Brainstorm. We also have a Brain Surge. Unfortunately, we don't have a Tamiyo. Tamiyo would be interesting. Let's Brainstorm, see what we can find. There's the Taimyo, but we can't flip it this turn, although it can block. Well, let's put back both lands. I think we play the Taimyo. Pass the turn. The problem is our opponent can still... they can still double Otherworldly Gaze. They're going to hit Creeping Chills at some point off of this. Opponent, Otherworldly Gaze. I guess we hit him to 13. Opponent mills a bunch of stuff. I mean, if they can find something that comes back from the graveyard here, I think that's game with double prized him out. Like, literal game. Not like, oh, we can't beat this game, but like actually dead game. When you draw your 3rd card for a turn, so if they Brainstorm, they get to get it back. Opponent, combat, attacks. We will block a Bloodghast, and then Brazen Borrower a Bloodghast. Okay, opponent's just going to counter it. That's fine. So we drop to 5. Well, let's go Tamiyo. So, will it be enough? So we get to go to combat. We'll attack with the Tamiyo to make a clue. And then we will Brain Surge. Draw 4, put 2 back on top. Oh, it tapped our Mountain. That's awkward. Put back 2 lands. Oh, we kind of got auto-tapped. Play an island. Take up Tamiyo. Pass the turn. Opponent, Otherworldly Gaze. This is huge. What do they hit? Alright. Mills 3. Opponent, land. The awkward part is we can't really successfully block these Bloodghasts, right? Because if we block them, then they go back to the graveyard. All right, opponent hits our Taimyo for 2. We have to not block, so the Bloodghasts don't come back. Crack the clue. Draw a card. Well, take up Taimyo. Play a land. Actually, should we brainstorm? Let's brainstorm. Brainstorm. Put back 2 lands. Attack. I mean, we do need to kill our opponent. Is there a chance that we win this? It actually seems possible that we win this, which is wild. Opponent attacks. Tamiyo shrinks. We will Petty Thief a Bloodghast. Okay. We will Mana Drain the Flare of Denial. Drop to 4. Untap. Get some mana. Run out the Brazen Borrower. Take up the Taimyo. Hit ya.
The library.
Down to 9. Wait, is there hope? Opponent takes it to 7. Take up Tamiyo. Scalding Target go. This Harbinger of Seas might be carrying opponent. Pass it. Wait, do we get to draw half of our deck? Oh my god. Oh my god. Draw half of our deck.
So many stories to catalog. It will take
Draw
time.
half of our deck. And then, wait, we should win now, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I think we'd rather have non-basics be mountains here. Do a little timestamp trickery. And opponent scoops it up because... Wow! After my speech, I gave a whole speech about how there's no way we could win this. That was a Tamiyo win. Actually, really, it was Tamiyo and Harbinger. Those were the 2 cards. Our opponent on the play had turn 2, they had Bloodghast into Prize Amalgam. They had 5 power on the battlefield, and it wasn't enough. Wow. That was very impressive. And that was really, we got to see Harbinger of Seas shutting down these Cephalid Coliseums that would have beat us because they could have put Bloodghast back in the graveyard. So Cephalid Coliseums would have made us lose. And then Tamiyo to shut down the attacks on the small creatures. That +1 might not look like much, but the +1 Narcomoeba can attack, Bloodghast attack for 1. It shifted the entire clock, and then eventually we just drew our deck, and then the Blood Moon makes our lands back into red mana, and then we can bolt you, and then we win. Wow. That was impressive. That was very impressive. It is Modern Horizons 3 time. We are playing some... Ooh, all right. I mean, our mana's a little awkward since we can't hold Tamiyo and Brainstorm on turn 2, but this is a turn 2 Tamiyo draw. We're playing some Tamiyo Blue Moon here. Well, here's the Tamiyo. How about no removal?
Is there a deeper meaning?
Tap land. Okay. Well, go to combat attack. Hit you with a Tamiyo. And I mean, we got to do it. Brainstorm. Put back a mountain and a lightning. Well, we'll keep the lightning bolt. Put back a mountain and a thundering falls. Flip the Tamiyo. I mean, this might just be the free win. Misty Rainforest.
Not just a
Tick
battle
up
of
Tamiyo.
but of-
Go.
I am not.
So this turn, we can't really do anything. Next turn, we can slam a Blood Moon. Collector's Vault. Sure. Well, Misty Rainforest, crack it. Grab a island. Take up Tamiyo. And Scalding Tarn for a mountain? Yeah, let's just take a mountain and play the Blood Moon. And, all right, I mean, they can make colored mana with the Collector's Vault, but if their plan is to use this to Madness Emrakul, not going to happen. Found it. Dust Bowl and Collector's Vault. I guess they could reanimate something. That's probably their best bet. All right, well, take up Tamiyo. We're already, see how fast this happens? We are already to the draw half of our deck mode. Next turn, we draw half of our deck. We didn't even do anything. We played a Taimyo and we brainstormed. Like, that's it. And we're going to draw half of our deck. We'll crack the clue token, might as well. Opponent. They shouldn't be playing Bowmasters, but even if they are, we have a counter. Draw half of our deck. Oh, that resolves. And, well, do we have an island? We don't have an island in here. We almost have too many cards. How about Mystic Sanctuary? Okay, well, so we can start bolting and snapcasting. Ugin's Binding to bounce the Blood Moon. Sure. We can just replay that in the future. I I don't think we can lose from here. I don't think it's possible. I don't know. Eldrazi have cast triggers. Maybe there's some world where Eldrazi cast triggers get us. Even if they Emrakul and gain control of half of our permanents, what does that really do? Plus, it would be kind of funny if we can invert polarity like in Emrakul or something. Oh god, that would be so good. This also lets us crack our Misty to get another basic out of the deck. Opponent, Collector's Vault. Discarding a Devourer of Destiny. Oh wait, did I? All right, let's crack our Misty. Grab an island. And then we need to start using some of our many Magic the Gathering cards. So, Lightning Bolt your face. Brazen Borrower, your Collector's Vault. Untap. Take up Tamiyo. Let's just play a Steam Vents untapped. I think we just pass for I don't even think we replay the Blood Moon. I think we just pass. Can we organize our hand in a somewhat logical way? Opponent, land. Are we going to draw half of our deck again? Collector's Vault. You know what? Let's invert polarity that. So if we win the flip, we get it. If we lose the flip, they don't get it. Tails never fails? Oh, Tails failed. Okay. Well, we still counter it. Opponent, Null Drifter. I'm going to exile it to bounce our Taimyo. Sure. Mana Drain? Opponent does get to draw a couple cards. And, ooh, plays their own Taimyo. Let's brainstorm. Might as well. Put back a land and a land. Make a bit of mana. How do we close out this game? That's the only problem with our deck is we're not closing out the game very quickly. Scalding Tard, crack Scalding Tard. Grab a Thundering Falls. Surveil. We only have 17 cards left in our deck. Another Blood Moon that can go graveyard. So we have what? Instant enchantment land. So I guess we can play Taimyo. Play a second Taimyo. To Legend Rule the first Taimyo. And then Unholy Heat the Taimyo. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just pass. Here we go, opponent. Opponent land. Devourer of Destiny to exile the Taimyo. Invert polarity. Can we steal one of these? Can we steal one of these, Magic Gods? Haha. Haha! We have found our finisher. Actually, shout out to our opponent for continuing to play when we have half of our deck in our hand because of Tamiyo. Well, let's see if we can devour our opponent's ability to stay in this game. Let's play a mountain, go to combat, hit you for 6. So opponent goes to 9. So we can lightning bolt our opponent down to 6. Do we still not have lethal? We need another bolt still? Brain Surge. There's all the Snapcasters. Put back the Blood Moons. Yeah, I mean, we'll just pass. Next turn we win. Next turn we win with Snapcasters and bolts. We just didn't draw enough bolts to, or enough Snapcasters to win right now. But next turn we definitely do. Opponent, Tamiyo, sure. Wow, this has been an impressive. Tamiyo is absurd. It might be better than Ragavan. Watch us get milled out by rivulets. They can mill us for a bunch. They can't mill quite enough, though. We have 13 cards in our deck. They can mill us for 12? Drowner of Truth to make a couple Eldrazi. Sure. Snapcaster Mage. And bolt our opponent. Untap. And Snapcaster Mage for a lightning bolt. And that should do it. Bolt, snap, bolt. And GG. Tamiyo! Doing some blood mooning, some Tamiyo mooning in Timeless, and we'll give this a go. I mean, we got a Tamiyo, no brainstorm to flip it. Opponent. Stitcher's Supplier. Oh, it's our dredge friend once again. Oh, there's the brainstorm. Well, play the land. Play the land, and I think we just play Tamiyo. They're playing dredge. Like, dredge, I don't think can kill Tamiyo. If they can, that would be disappointing, because we have the brainstorm in hand. But Opponent, I think we gotta be fast here. Chthonian Nightmare. Pretty sweet with Stitcher Supplier. Ooh, 2 Stitcher Suppliers. Very sweet with 2 Stitcher Suppliers. Opponent's going to really fill their graveyard here. So I can sack the Stitcher Supplier to get back the Stitcher Supplier. Mill 6. Yeah, that... I'm going to say it again. I don't think we can beat this deck. Although we played this deck before and we did beat the deck, so maybe it's not actually impossible? It just feels impossible. Well, get in for 0 with Tamiyo. Brainstorm to flip the Tamiyo. Put back 2 Steam Vents. Flip Tamiyo. Flooded Strand. Tick up Tamiyo. And pass the turn. So what are they getting back for free? Right now, not that much, but they get to just keep Chthonian Nightmare. If they play the Nightmare, I think we just bolt the Stitcher Supplier, actually. Just so they can't activate it this turn. Opponent gonna get back the Bloodghast. Yeah, okay. Getting back the Bloodghast means they're gonna have something to sack. We can potentially counter it next turn. Maybe we were too greedy. Maybe we should have just waited on the Taimyo and tried to mana drain the Nightmare. They are playing Flare and Ripples. I wonder how good Ripples is. This is one of the cards. If you watch the box opening I did on the opening channel, and the prices were on everything were high, but I was surprised that Ripples was as high as it was. Opponent, draw 3, discard 3. I'm not sure Cephalid Coliseum is actually that good in Timeless Dredge. It's very good with literal dredge cards, right? Because it's dredged 3 times. Not sure it's actually that good. Well, I guess it's pretty good if you have sneaky snackers. Crack the Flooded Strand. I think we take a Thundering Falls here. Kind of wouldn't mind hitting a Blood Moon effect. Gonna mill the Flooded Strand. Opponent passes. Well, Taimyo, tick it up. Play a Scalding Tarn and pass the turn. We need to ultimate the Taimyo, but I'm not sure we can. Our opponent has a lot of attackers. Opponent combat. Gonna get at the Taimyo. Let's bolt the Sneaky Snacker. Taimyo takes 1. This means Taimyo is gonna go up to 7, which is ultimate mode. We do need our opponent not to draw 3 cards, or they get back 3 Sneaky Snackers, which that would be very bad for us. They just keep coming back. That is the Dredge life, though. Opponent, Phyrexian Tower, and passes. Well, crack the Scalding Tarn. Grab a Island. Yeah, let's crack the Clue. Actually, no, we're not gonna crack the Clue. Let's just untap. We draw an Unholy Heat, so take up Taimyo. Play a Mountain. I mean, we might be able to ultimate the Taimyo. And if we ultimate the Taimyo, we might be able to win. Do we need to counter this? Yeah, I think we mana drain this. Yeah, we're gonna mana drain. So the thing is, we don't want our opponent to be able to get things back right now, because then they could attack the Taimyo. We are all in on ultimating this Taimyo. That is the game plan. We're gonna try to ultimate this Taimyo, and if it works, hope that drawing half of our deck wins us the game. Will it work? I'm not sure. The nice thing is drawing half of our deck means we probably find another Taimyo and another Brainstorm. We spend our mana drain, so we can't actually stop this. So the opponent gets a bunch of energy. So they can sack the Stitcher Supplier, get back whatever. Another Stitcher Supplier. Yep. I mean, looping Stitcher Supplier is sweet against in a Dredge deck. Opponent mills. Gets back Stitcher Supplier, mills. Sacks the Stitcher Supplier to make a couple black mana, and mills. And Nightmare. I mean, I think this is our interaction point. Bounce it. Is it happening? Is it happening? Untap land. Gets back the Bloodghast. And a friend. Alright. Opponent. Okay, passing. Well, I mean, make a mana as quick as possible. Ultimate this Taimyo. Draw half of our deck. And, okay, so how do we lock our opponent out from here is the question. Play an island and play a Blood Moon. Opponent, Flare of Denial, sacking the prized amalgam. Yeah, let's mana drain it. Mana drain the Flare. And opponent scoops it up. This deck might actually just be busted. Ultimately, Taimyo is happening all the time. I don't even know if Dredge is a good matchup. It just doesn't matter because Tamiyo is so strong. Wow. It is Modern Horizons 3 time. We are playing some Tamiyo Blue Moon in Timeless and removal, Blood Moon you. Hopefully that's enough. We will see. Polluted Delta for 8 Blood Crypt untapped. And Faithless Looting. All right, so some sort of graveyard strategy. Oh, it could be a Phoenix deck. Buried Alive is reinvigorated people's interest in Arclight Phoenix because there's a legacy deck that's like Buried Alive, Arclight Phoenix, Opponent, Troll, and Fury. Oh, maybe they're just like a scam deck. Wow, okay. Opponent Griefs pitching a Bowmaster. No scam available though. They probably don't care about Blood Moon. They could be playing Blood Moon. Modern Rakdos Scam played some Blood Moons. Maybe they take the Borrower in case they reanimate like the Troll. All right, they take the Borrower. Grief goes away. We draw another Borrower. Well, land, go. Always nice to draw what your opponent thought seizes. Is that a record? What record are they stealing? Big K-pop fan. Found it. Land, end. Crags, Polluted Delta. What record would you steal? You could steal one album. Another Faithless Looting. Our opponent has just like discarded their hand to not do a ton. Somehow we're on turn 2. And our opponent's down to 2 cards. 2 cards in hand. This is so brutal for our opponent. It's so brutal. We're gonna take a Thundering Falls here. Surveil. Do we want a Scalding Tarn? Probably not. Scalding Tarn to the bottom. Draw a Scalding Tarn anyway. Well, we will play the island. And we'll just pass. So we can Brazen Borrower the Troll. The question is, when do we Brazen Borrower the Troll? I think we take 1 hit. And do it end step. Down to 13. Well, do a little petty thieving. Your album is ours, Troll of Khazad. The Troll of Khazad, definitely metal. It actually kind of looks like grindcore singer. You can hear the growl. You can see it. Opponent has done a pretty good job of killing themselves here. So flashing on the Brazen Borrower and hitting, especially with this Lightning Bolt in hand, we're kind of like a Snapcaster away from, well, I guess 1 damage short of a Snapcaster away from winning opponent. Faithless Looting. Gonna do some drawing and some discarding. I do think there's probably a Grief Reanimator scam deck. Because that's, speaking of legacy, that's another legacy archetype. Opponent discards a Reanimate and a land and plays a Swamp and passes. Well, crack the Flooded Strand. Grab another island and Brazen Borrower time. Let the beatdowns commence. Another Blood Moon. These Blood Moon's not looking very good here. Well, get in with a Brazen Borrower. Hit you. Down to 7. Play Tamiyo. And yeah, the Blood Moon does literally nothing. It turns their 2 Blood Crypts into mountains, but their mana is basically just as functional if we Blood Moon Dark Rit. Are we hardcasting something? Hardcast a Troll? The classic Troll? Yup. Grindcore singer back. Crank the Scalding Tarn. Is our Unholy Heat on? It is not on. Let's just take a Thundering Fall since we're not going to be playing these. Ooh, Snapcaster. Wait, does that game bolt you? I think that Snapcaster does it, but it is kind of nostalgic to be able to bolt people again. Hit ya. Down to 1. And snap and bolt and... Well, we've won a lot of games by flipping Tamiyo. This time we didn't even need to. It's busted even when it doesn't flip, apparently. It is Tamiyo Moon time. Ooh, do we even keep this? We're on the draw. I mean, I guess it's fine. Bolt into nothing into Blood Moon. That beats some decks kind of by itself. Not like an absurd hand or anything, but good enough. Opponent, Bloodstain Maya. Little cracky crack. For, wow, just main phases the sewers, sure. I mean, you don't want to be pretentious and fetch it instant speed. That would be pretentious. Bonnet Swamp. Looking at her Scalding Tarn for some reason, which makes me uncomfortable. You better not... Oh, Psychic Frog. Oh, Psychic Frog. Okay. They can discard 2 cards to get around the Lightning Bolt. Well, let's take a Thundering Falls. We're not going to bolt right now. Mystic Sanctuary, definitely Graveyard. Flooded Strand. Well, we're going to lose to this stupid frog. Yeah, I mean, Thundering Falls does not deal with the frog. Graveyard. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just make them do it. Bold it. They can't just discard 2 cards to save it, and then they get the cards back from the frog. Frog is very, very good against bolts. Not nearly as good against fatal pushes or swords or whatever, paths, solitudes, but it is very good against bolt because of exactly this. So now it's a 3-4. It's a 3-4 forever. This isn't temporary pump. That's what makes this the 2024 Atog, right? Like, the pump is permanent. And now, oh, check this out. Bolt the frog. Oh, discard a couple cards. We can't be Psychic Frog. Psychic Frog, since we're sticking with the band motif, definitely like Flaming Lips, maybe King Gizzard, somewhere in that realm, you know. I could see it hanging out backstage with a King Gizzard. You're go about it. Gets in, hits us. Yeah, we're dead. We don't have an answer for this. Okay. Well, this is the first time I've seen Psychic Frog, and I will say it has impressed me. It might just be the matchup, but and also, like, we ended up drawing infinite lands on the draw, so a lot of things went kind of wrong here. But Brazen Borrower, I mean, that is like kind of almost an answer to a Psychic Frog. Well, play the land pass the turn. I'm gonna attack. Haha. We're gonna steal your King Gizzard album, Psychic Frog. Found it. Still gets to draw a card. Still gets to hit us with the frog. You know, our opponents discarded 4 cards this game, right? They've discarded 4 cards to their frogs, and they still have way more cards in hand than we do. Maybe this frog's actually busted. Found it. Hey, Psychic Frog. It's like one of those Grateful Dead songs. It never ends. Just keeps going. Like, come on, just end it. The first 45 minutes of this jam were sweet, but the next half hour, you lost me. Another land. All right, now we're actually just dead. Well, we met our match. Psychic Frog. All right, it is Modern Horizons 3 time, and we are trying to flip some Tamiyos. The question is, I think we got to run it out. We got 2 Tamiyos. I guess there's not much of a downside to running out one and with 2 in hand. One of the tricks of Tamiyo, which in Brainstorm formats, is if you wait to turn 2, oh, it's Soul Sisters. Oh no. Oh no. Are we gonna lose to Soul Sisters? That's not good at all. Well, get in with Taimyo. It's gotta be a Sorin deck, right? So we get a clue. I think we just gotta flip it. Brainstorm. Put back a land. Put back a Spreading Seas. Tamiyo flips. Scalding Tarn. Take it up. Tamiyo, I think the +1 on Tamiyo is gonna be a little underrated. Like, the ability to +1 here actually just stops our opponent's entire attack. Distinguished Conjure. Trigger. I guess if they play another creature, then they can Guide of Souls. Oh, opponent. Passing. Well, thankfully didn't get guided yet. We could use a Bolt. Let's get a Thundering Falls here. Do a little surveilling. Snapcaster Mage. We don't have a Bolt or anything, right? Just a Brainstorm. I don't actually think we want Snapcaster. If we had a Bolt or something, we'd keep it, but we do not. Take up Tamiyo. Misty, go. Tamiyo, Misty, go. Tamiyo and Misty, go. Do we care about Sorinyo? Yes, I think we got to counter that. Mana Drain. Sorry, distracted by my own singing. Horrible singing. Would you like to attack our Tamiyo? Get in there? No, okay. See, Tamiyo's just locking this board down. Tamiyo's just locking it down. Get another Thundering Falls. Tamiyo's absurd. Look how good it is. I mean, our opponent is playing Soul Sisters, so maybe that's part of it, but still, We make a bunch of mana. Yeah, let's brainstorm. See if we can find a... Oh, don't Bowmaster us. Okay, we do find a bolt. So we will put back a Tamiyo and the polarity. We'll draw the polarity first if we do draw it. We'll take up Taimyo. Play the land. I mean, our plan is simple. We bolt the Guide of Souls if our opponent plays a creature. Well, okay, actually, let's just mana drain the Sorin. You know, GG. This was just a Tamiyo free win. This was just Tamiyo free. When people, I said something on Twitter about how I think Tamiyo in Brainstorm formats is better than Ragavan. And people are like, oh, what do you do with it? Like, the backside doesn't do anything. This is a great example of Tamiyo just straight up winning a game. We flipped Tamiyo on turn 2. We had a couple counter spells. And we plus Tamiyo all the way up to ultimate. We're here heading into turn 5. We're about to draw 21 cards and they have no max hand size for the rest of the game, at which point it is impossible that we lose the game. This would yes, this matchup ended up being good for it, right? Our opponent's playing a lot of 1-power creatures. They're doing like Souls History stuff. So it ended up being a good matchup for it. But this is the match to show someone when they're like, oh, what does the backside do? The backside doesn't actually do anything. It actually does a lot of some things. Like in this case, it just repeatedly wrathed our opponent's entire board as it rushed towards turn 5 ultimate to draw half of our deck and win the game. The card's bonkers. It is bonkers. It is Modern Horizons 3 time. We're finding out just how busted Taimyo actually is. So far, the answer has been incredibly. Like super duper over the top incredibly. No one's gonna be stifling today, right? There's no stiflers here. We're not gonna crack our fetch. We could, the thing is, we kind of want to get a shock land or a surveil land. If we get stifled, we get stifled. We will accept the risk. Opponent, untap land and up the beanstalk. Oh, this is gonna be interesting. All right, scared, officially scared. Let's get a Thundering Falls. Do a little surveilling. Would really love to find a Blood Moon. That would make me very happy, Magic Gods. Opponent passes. Well, let's Flooded Strand, crack it. Or a Harbinger of the Seas. I'm not picky. That would also be fine. Let's just Spreading Seas this Triome. Enjoy your island, opponent. Well, there's a Tamiyo. So we can Tamiyo Brainstorm. Opponent, Windswept Heath passes. Mana drain. Well, play the Scalding Tarn. Crack the Scalding Tarn. Uh-oh. Why are we cracking? No, you're not going to stifle us. No, you wouldn't do that to us. Opponent, okay, just going to get another Triome. That's fine. We will take another island. I think we just, this is kind of weird, but I think we just play Tamiyo and pass. We can flip it during our opponent's turn. It's third card in a turn, so we can flip it during our opponent's turn. This also lets us leave up the mana drain. Opponent, Beseju, and Omnath. Well, yes, that must be countered. So mana drain the Omnath. Oh, what are we getting? Furied? Solitude, pitching a Leyline Binding, draws a card. Yeah, well, I mean, that is annoying. You know what's not annoying, though? Sorry, opponent. Actually, I am not sorry at all. Our opponent's playing Up the Beanstalk. Up the Beanstalk, Evoke Elementals. They're doing busted stuff. I do not even feel a little bit sorry about this. Blood Moon. How about that? Blood Moon, you, and then up. Oh, no. Oh, no. Is the deck that... Is the deck that got Up the Beanstalk banned out of Modern? A little soft to Blood Moon? Oh, that's too bad. Oh, what a shame. Look at all those beautiful Triomes. This is one of those examples when people, there's always this debate about Blood Moon, right? Where I'll be like, Blood Moon's actually the good guy. It's keeping greedy mana bases in check. And other people will be like, no, it's not the good guy. You're using it to jank out free wins. The truth is actually in the middle. Yes, you're playing Blood Moon to jank out free wins, but this is an example of where I honestly, truly, really do believe Blood Moon's the good guy, and it really is punishing greedy mana bases. When I say punishing greedy mana bases, I don't mean, when you jank out the 2-color deck that just happen to not draw their basics. That's Blood Moon just janking someone out and just variance. But if you're gonna play 5-color up the beanstalk Omnath Evoke Elementals and be like, you know what, I'm going to jam all the most powerful cards in this entire format into my deck in every single color. If you're going to do that, in like not fetch out basic lands and instead fetch out triomes so you can play every single color of thing, you deserve to be punished for that. That is an example of where Blood Moon actually is doing the policing the format of the degeneracy thing. So yeah, it is true that Blood Moon is a jank 'em out card, but there also is a punish the greedy mana base card. So the truth of that debate, I honestly think is in the middle somewhere, where it really does both of those things depending on the matchup. But well, that was sweet. Blood Moon, still good. So what do we learn this week about Tamiyo, Blue Moon, and Timeless? And first off, we played on early access day, so the record doesn't really matter much because people are trying new things and, you know, janky new brews. But overall, we only lost once with the deck. We played, I believe, 8 games with the deck. We won 7 of them, so the deck actually felt really competitive. The most important thing is this really showed just how absurd Taimyo really is. Like, I know people are kind of skeptical. They read the backside and they're like, oh, is it really good enough? Does it do anything? But we saw time and time again that flipping Taimyo on turn 2 usually leads to us winning the game. It is actually shockingly easy to flip Taimyo on turn 2 and just plus, draw half of our deck on turn 5, and at that point we really can't lose. And Taimyo's backside doesn't look that exciting, right? Its plus ability is only giving your opponent's creatures -1, -0. Its negative ability is really expensive. I don't think we use that ability at all. We actually maybe should have used it more in some cases, but it turns out that if you do this on turn 2, giving all your opponent's stuff -1, -0 when it attacks actually shuts down their offense really well. And we got to see many times during our games how that plus ability was actually absurd. Like, it kept us alive against a dredge deck. They had all these threats on the battlefield, but we were able to use Taimyo to just keep shrinking them and shrinking them and shrinking them, and eventually we got to the ultimate and used that to win the game. We played against a deck that was trying to do Soul Sisters things and had a bunch of 1-power creatures, and we literally just flipped Taimyo on turn 2, plus. Our opponent had a huge board of creatures, but they couldn't deal any damage because of the plus ability, and then we just ultimated and won the game. So I gotta say, Taimyo absolutely blew me away. I will also say I'm still skeptical of Taimyo in Modern in specific, because in Modern there's no Brainstorm. If you gotta like piece together like attack with Taimyo to get a clue and then like play a Mishra's Bauble to crack that to draw a card and then crack my clue to eventually get Taimyo, it loses a lot of its appeal to me, right? If you actually gotta work for flipping Taimyo, it's much less exciting. It is like an okay-ish blocker for a 1-drop, but it's never gonna deal any damage in creature form. So if you gotta do like a 3-piece combo to get Planeswalker Taimyo, I don't know if I care about that. But in formats like Timeless, or in Legacy, I assume, where you have Brainstorm, Taimyo is absolutely ridiculous. A lot of times, flipping on turn 2 felt like we just won the game. Like, that's how strong it actually felt. And I'm so high on Taimyo that I actually think in Brainstorm formats like Timeless, I actually think it might just be better than Ragavan, as crazy as that sounds. So that is Taimyo Blue Moon for Timeless. That's been our deck for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.